Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. My name is Peter Loshak. It's week 6 in college football, and this, of course, is the very popular Into the Weekend with BetDSI show. For week 6 in college football, this, of course, is the show where we talk with Brent, the headlines manager, about at BetDSI Sportsbook, about the notable action that he's taken all week long from the public and the sharps. Last week, Brent, I'm seeing the plays that you told us the sharps were on last week as of Friday. Of course, sometimes they're on a lot more plays by kickoff, but last week, I'm seeing 6 and 6. I'm seeing 25 and 24 overall on the year from the sharps in college football. You know, it's not terrible, but I don't know, man. I don't know about these sharps, buddy.
Well, I mean, as I always stress, and you always go the opposite way. You're in it for the quick hit, and we're in it for the long run. So, I mean, I think if you look, and again, we're going to talk about NFL. I think if we have this conversation about NFL, you'll find that NFL has gone quite well. So, I mean, just blindly following what the show, the stuff that we talk about, you've probably done, you probably did all right a little bit so far this year. But yeah, I mean, college football, sometimes it takes a while, sometimes it never turns around. I mean, even our side of the coin. Remember, like last year for NFL football, which is not. I mean, we did okay in NFL football, but it wasn't a very good year. And sometimes you have years like that, and sometimes it happens to the sharps too. But we've been doing this show long enough to know these guys are going to win.
I don't know about these sharps, buddy. That's all I got. Hey, I've been giving public picks in my shows all year long. I'm 36 and 26 ATS, so I haven't had a problem handing out winners. I don't know about these sharps, but yeah, it's always interesting to hear what they choose to be on every week. And this, of course, is only as of Friday afternoon when Brent and I do this show. And as we know, as you can see from line moves, every Saturday morning, a lot of sharp action comes in after this show on Friday night, and of course on Saturday morning and all throughout game day on Saturday. All right, Brent. So let's see what you can tell us about notable action from this week. Bunch of interesting games, of course. West Virginia and TCU, a huge game. Interestingly, despite both these teams being very high scoring, the total took a pretty significant hit down from an opener around 73, now down to around 67. So maybe you'll tell us that was caused by early sharp action on the under. As far as the spread is concerned, it's certainly an interesting spread. The early jump favored TCU. I saw it get up to about 14 market wide. Recent money appears to be favoring West Virginia. It's now down to 13. What can you tell us about West Virginia TCU?
Yeah, I mean, this game, it's first off, I mean, it's good two-way action for sure on this one. We are sitting at TCU right now minus 13 and a total of 68. Now, there's a lot of 67.5s out there, and there was sharper money on the under here. I've got what I'm going to call like two plays that are both kind of pseudo sharp plays. Generally, when you pick these names out of a hat, you usually pick games where there's no notable action at all. But in this case, I do have minus 12.5 on TCU from what I'm going to call, we'll call a pseudo sharp, not a guy who's quite on the list yet. But that was TCU minus the 12.5 and also the under 69. So I do have, notable action, I'm going to call it, on both the favorite and the under in this game. Now, like I said, I'm sitting at 68 because most of my guys bet the over. That's just kind of like the trend. It's part of my risk management is knowing my customer base, and a game like this, they're generally going to bet the over. So I'm sitting, just a half point higher than everyone else in the market. There is a 67.5, pretty much painted across the board, maybe a 67 here or there. So you can tell market wide, generally the sharper money has been going over. Again, I've got more public money towards the over, so I've got a count favoring the over, and I got money favoring the under, which is a good spot for me. And I also have my count and money favoring TCU. So I have public money on TCU and sharps as well, but it's not overwhelming at this point.
Right. Okay. So notable money on TCU and on the under, but not quite list money yet. So we won't count that as official sharp action as of right now. Next game that's interesting I want to talk about, Miami and Florida State, a huge game, obviously. I did see an early line early this week of Florida State at 3.5. Now it's a 3 market wide. My sense is that I personally would be leaning Miami here. My guess is that just based how the season has gone, the public would be leaning Miami too. And my guess is also that this has the makeup of a game where there might be sharp action one way or the other on it. I bet the under early on. We did see a quick move to the under from 48.5 down to 45. So that might have been due to sharp action as well. What can you tell us about Miami and Florida State?
Yeah, it's mostly what I have is mostly public money, and that's on the side on Miami. And this one opened up pretty much market ride was maybe a pick or even Florida State -1. We have Miami, Florida -2.5. That's where we are right now. My count though, my count and my money is pretty strong. It's like I said, it's not sharp money involved on this one yet. but I do have a wager count. And again, when I talk about wager count, that's the actual individual number of bets I've taken, almost 5-1 favoring Miami. And my money is also 5-1 favoring Miami. So I haven't gone any sharp money back on Florida State so far. And also the under as well. I mean, I've just got it's just a strong count towards the under. It's not sharp action that's driven that one down. Some places did open as high as 50, but I mean, I was fortunate that I didn't have to open up that high. But we are sitting 45 right now, and it's just count towards the under and count towards Miami right now.
All right, so that means that that move to the under has been driven by public money, not necessarily sharp action.
Correct.
Okay, and then let's talk about Michigan State and Michigan, another huge game. Not sure if I have an opinion on this one. Did see an early move in favor of Michigan, got all the way up to 14.
Wait a second, you're not sure if you have an opinion?
I'm not sure if I have an opinion, but
it sounds to me like you don't have an opinion, Peter.
Right. My opinion on my uncertainty about my opinion is quite confident, actually, which is never a good sign when you're handicapping a game. So I think I'm going to stay off this one, but there has been some pretty clear recent movement in favor of Michigan State as an underdog. They're now down to a 10. Big game. I'm assuming big action on both sides here. What can you tell us about this one?
Yeah, I mean, you bang on in terms of big game and big action, good two-way action as well. My money is slightly favoring Michigan. And I you're looking at this game. It's I mean, it's such a massive game. It's one of these games where you really can't do a whole lot wrong in terms of because you're just going to get so much action on this game. I do want to touch on the total though, because we have seen the movement there. There's no, we don't really talk about key numbers in terms of totals very much, especially in college football. But that move from the under 41.5. That was sharp money that drove that one down. It was down to 39.5 yesterday, I think it was. This is a list guy who played that as well. So this is sharp action on the under 41.5. It's crept up to like 40, I think pretty much 40 everywhere else, in the market right now. So it's just a big enough game where you're going to get a lot of public money involved as well. So you're going to get, a count obviously favoring the over because the public generally, as they do, is going to bet the over. My count now is almost like 2-1 favoring them. And on the side too is pretty much my count's almost like 2-1 favoring Michigan, but more money on Michigan State. So that's kind of a little bit telling there that the sharper money, bigger bets generally have come on Michigan State. But the sharpest action that I have is on the under. Like I said, under 41.5 is where that came. We're sitting on the side like -10 right now. No big deal that we open like around 12 and it's kind of been bet down. You kind of don't expect the game to land 12, 12, 11 or stuff like that. You feel you're pretty safe. Now, I mean, we talk about these numbers all the time. We talk about dead numbers, but I mean, if you go back, every week, I know there's some games where they had spreads that got bet up and down around 18 and they land on 18. I can't remember which game it was, but I was thinking that for this next episode to talk about. I mean, whenever you can get, even if you just think, it's not a big deal, that number. Well, if you can get 18.5 instead of 17.5, always take it.
Right. Absolutely. All right. So the only clear sharp action we've identified so far is under in the Michigan State Michigan game, 41.5. And Brent, let me just ask you in general about all three of these games. We've seen some sort of small line movements on all of them throughout the week. If we see a pretty clear line move game day right before kickoff favoring one of these sides, that could be sharp action, or that could be public action, or is it almost certainly to be sharp action? Or in a game like this, could big public action cause a big late line move?
Yeah, these bigger games are generally it's gonna be sharp money that drives it, and again, day of the game is when you double up your limits and stuff like that. So the sharp guys can really fire on these games if they've been sitting back and waiting for them. Now again, like you don't know, and I don't know what the sharps what's in their mind and what they're waiting for. I mean, a game like the Miami Florida line, we've seen a lot of movement on that one already. So if this 2.5 goes up to 3, I mean that's definitely going to be sharp money that drives it there. I mean, it's just not you're just not going to get public money driving the number from basically was a pick all the way out on the number 3. So you'd really have to be overwhelmed with public money for that to happen, which is probably not very, very likely. If that game touched on 3, we're just seeing into the future here. But if that game did jump up to 3 and then back down, you would know it was sharp action that took it back the other way on Florida State.
Right. And if we see by kickoff it's like Florida State +1 or even pick 'em, that's very likely to have been caused by sharp action on Florida State.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks so much, Brent, from BetDSI. Michigan under 41. Got it. Going to lock that one in. What else can you tell us about notable action from around college football week 6?
Well, it's never a good thing when we've got sharp money on Notre Dame because the public likes to back them, and we do have that this week. Notre Dame, again, Peter doesn't like to use rotation numbers. I always like to use rotation numbers, so that's 313. That game's up to 15.5 right now. So I've got wager count almost 2-1 favoring Notre Dame. Now it is Notre Dame, North Carolina, so it's kind of like a at least it's a brand name opponent they're playing. But I mean that line, and it opened quite high, got bet all the way back down. Just public money mostly on that on the dog there. But at -13, sharp money jumped in on Notre Dame. I think it was like yesterday that line had gone to 14.5, and today we're sitting at 15.5. So a lot of line movement on this one, but it was just public money coming the other way. Sharp money though on Notre Dame on the -13. I have an over involving Toledo, and this is especially for Peter. He likes to hear overs when it comes to Toledo games. I think it's the Eastern Michigan and Toledo. The over 58.5 is where I got sharp money on that one. Now we're sitting at 61 on this game right now, and again, over is never good for us when sharp money plays that, and that's the situation here as well. I've got almost 4-1 my wager count here on the over, so we're at 61 right now. Again, the sharp money came in on 58.5. That's Eastern Michigan at Toledo. Toledo's like a 14-point home favorite there. I dropped down to another total for here is Bowling Green and Miami, Ohio. I have under action on this one, under 54. Now, again, we're sitting, quite a bit of movement down to 49 right now. So it's a pretty big move. This number initially got bet up, as it typically does involving, Bowling Green type games. They get bet up over, just generally speaking. That went from 50.5, I think the opener, all the way up to 54 when the Sharps swooped in and took the under 54. Again, 49 is where we are now. The numbers kind of crept back up, mostly public money driving that up. I know this total had moved all the way down to, I think it was like 48 yesterday. So it's coming back up a little bit, but definite sharp action was on the under 54. We touched on the Michigan under 41.5, because that was definitely sharp. Southern Miss and Texas San Antonio. Again, I'm going in rotation order here. That's game 351. I think we're talking here. There we are. Yeah, 351. So I got Southern Miss plus 14.5. That's where the sharp money came in on this one. We're sitting at -12 right now. It's not a huge wager count, obviously, involving these two teams, but I do have a count almost 2-1 favoring Texas San Antonio. So I'm not going to call it a distinct sharp public split, but I do have a lot more public money, or public bets, we'll say, on Texas San Antonio, and more money and sharp action on Southern Miss. There's a decent game to talk about, at least. We've got Stanford and Utah. That's game 355 in the rotation schedule. I got sharp action on this one, which came on the under. We're sitting at 52 right now. 54.5 is where the sharp action came there. This is one of those games where I think, I'm just kind of waiting for the sharps to jump in on the dog on this one. Now, I haven't seen it yet, but it's just one of those games where, Stanford on the road being the favorite like they are, they were like a 4.5-4-point favorite. So yeah, I just get a feeling that if this line dropped down a whole lot more, it's going to be sharp action on the side. But I mean, I can't tell you that now, but I just know that I've got more public, just slightly more public bets on Stanford, and Utah just seems to be one of those sneaky dog, kind of home dog things that the sharp guys kind of fish out. But the total is where I do have sharp action so far, and that, like I said, was 54.5. Side for you is Colorado State. They are a road chalk at Utah State. Sharps came in on Colorado State -6.5. I'm all the way up to 8.5 right now. It's pretty much 8 and 8.5 market wide, but the Sharps grabbed that Colorado State at -6.5. Decent movement here on this one as well is the Washington State game. Washington State and Oregon. I don't know what's going on in the state of Washington, but they got a couple of good football programs right now. Both teams have pretty decent defenses. Washington and Washington State. This is Washington State on the road at Oregon. Washington State +1 is where that sharp action came. That lines up to 2.5 right now. Again, this is one of those things where the tables have kind of turned for us in that the public used to always be all over Oregon, no matter who they were playing. Now, again, this is, going back a year or 2 years ago when they had, Mariota and stuff like that. So we go back a little bit, but for so long, it was just kind of like a dead given that the public was going to jump on Oregon. But I guess maybe it's that whole Washington thing right now. Washington State, my wager count is almost like 4-1 favoring them. So I've got the Sharps and the public on that same side. Again, the Sharps still grabbed the +1 with Washington State. What else do I have here? On 383, that's going to be UL Monroe and Texas State. I've got Texas State, the home dog there. It was plus 7.5 is where the sharp money came. Monroe is a 6.5-point road favorite now, but plus 7.5 is where that came in on Texas State. And last but not least, I've got a side and total for you in the Missouri and Kentucky game. That's Missouri at Kentucky. We've got Missouri plus 13.5 is where the sharps came in on that one. And they also bet the over now, over 57.5 on that game. So Missouri plus 13.5 and over 57.5. Right now, Kentucky's a 10-point favorite, and that total sitting at 60.
Interesting information there, Brent. It's a split as far as I'm concerned, because I did give Texas State plus 7.5 early in the week as one of my official plays, but I also gave the under in Missouri, Kentucky. We'll see how that one turns out.
You can save those picks for your own show there, Peter.
Yes, and I'm very surprised to hear that the Notre Dame line move down was caused by public action. I mean, that opened at around 17, whatever it was, went down to 14, and I assume that was definitely early sharp action on UNC. But you're telling me no, it was the public that drove that one down, and then the sharps actually hit Notre Dame when it went high enough, when it went low enough.
I think the public is very finicky when it comes to Notre Dame. They definitely look for spots to jump on them, and they definitely look for spots to go against them. It's one of those things where their games always get a whole lot of action. Like, people like to bet Notre Dame games, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they like Notre Dame per se. They definitely look for spots to go against them. And I guess the perception was the value was too high, getting a couple of touchdowns with the home dog there. I do want to touch on the Missouri game again, just because our wager count was just so one-sided there. Just ton of action on Kentucky, which I was kind of surprised. Wow. Just a ton of public action on Kentucky. Like, my account there is more than 10-1 favoring Kentucky, which is quite surprising. Yet I have more money on Missouri because of the sharps.
Wow, great breakdown, great info, Brent from BetDSI. Public fading Notre Dame, and sharps actually took them at minus 13. Brent from BetDSI, thanks so much. We'll talk to you next week for college football week 7.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.